Let's get to it. Damon Burton, the Forbes contributor and SEO author, helping you show up higher on Google without paying for ads, as recognized on Shark Tank and the Utah Jazz team store. All right, so we got some questions. But first, we want you to get out a couple of your highlights about what it is that you counsel different entities on.
So what I do is you've actually just nailed it. It's very simplistic. So I work with businesses to show up higher on Google and search engines for words that you can monetize, but without paying for ads. So that really is the simplest way to say it. Now, the magic behind it gets in deeper than that. But if we kind of like summarize where that magic happens, it all is your website. And so your website, Google kind of looks at it and says, okay, is Tommy the authority in what he does? And if so, I'm going to look at these certain things. Does Tommy talk about what he does? Does he have more unique content than other people? And then we can rank him uniquely. Does his website load quickly because Google says, treat me like a regular visitor? And just like you don't like a slow loading website. So neither does Google. So if you kind of condense it, there's two categories, and then I'll let you tell me where we want to deviate from there. But basically it's, your site structure, how good is it? How quickly does it load? Is it mobile friendly? Is it easy to use? And then the second category is, does anybody else care about you? It's like a popularity contest. So our other partners, when Candace was on, you guys talk about each other on each other's websites. And so Google will look at this popularity contest and say, are other people linking to you, talking about you? Is there buzz about you? So it's primarily those two things, your website and the external credibility.
Chasten.
Yes.
You got a question, sir?
No, I just feel like I have zero clout anymore.
so let me ask. You could ask my partner Joe Atkins. He realtors. Okay, there are probably 40, 50, at least 100 different website developers
platforms.
That we can go place IDX on and have our website up, right? I've been with a company called Real Geeks. We're at iHouse Web right now. How important is a blogging aspect to a successful website if you're in our industry?
So blogging, or at least some form of reoccurring content, is important for any industry, but probably more so for the real estate industry, and I can explain why. So like one big problem that realtors have much more than other industries is just like you brought up, you have your IDX, your MLS, and the problem with that is they all say the same thing on everybody else's website. So when Google looks at the same house listing with the same description about the same number of rooms and the same beautiful backyard with the same pool, if your website's not unique, why would Google rank you uniquely? So the problem that you run into in the real estate world is you still need those things because it makes posting the listing seamless, because you go in and put it one place and it goes all these other places. That's nice. But from an SEO perspective, the problem you run into is you're just the same as the 100 other people that are out there too. So that's where blogging is important, because that's your opportunity to differentiate yourself from the other guys that just post the MLS. Like if you just put up a website and then post your MLS, your IDX, whatever, and that's it, I don't care how good looking the website is, you're never going to gain any credibility on Google. So you have to figure out a way to differentiate yourself, and blogging is a clear opportunity.
Now, do you have a rebuttal to that, Chasten, or are you just strictly taking notes?
No, I have a question, of course. With this blogging though, and just with the recurring content or keeping it updated, is it as important as I'm updating my Instagram, or is it like, do I need to update how I update Twitter like all the time, or like I know that MLS feeds and IDX feeds do it like once a day maybe. And that's how some of those companies sell to us, like, oh, you'll rank up in search engines because we update it every day. But as you said, it's the same content going to everybody. But
Yeah.
if I had a blog, how often should I be putting new content on that blog to, I guess, hit that relevancy and that update timer thing or whatever?
So you or whatever.
Yeah.
So you quality matters more than quantity. Now, if you want to try and find the happy medium, I would say aim for at least once a week. Now, obviously, the more the better, but only if it's legitimate content, because you don't want to create the same problem of worthless content or nothing that's going to differentiate you. So what I suggest is, like, what we do with our clients is, we have in-house writers, but what I can do is I can give you the process that we use. And so what we use is we map out a 52-week content calendar. So the reason why we map it out so far in advance is because writing sucks, right? I'm pretty sure that you guys don't want to sit down every day or every other day or however often and write. So if you front load the efforts and then do the fun stuff, do the research, like, oh, what can I write about? And I can give you some examples of, where to come up with some creative inspiration. But if you map that out, then when you have A, the free time, and B, you're in the mood, because, let's say everybody so far Fridays are their favorite day. So everybody on Friday, if that's the day you have time to write, doesn't mean you're in, you can put on your writer's cap. So by mapping out your topics in advance, then you can just hit the ground running on the days that you have the time and the inspiration. And then that way you can focus on the quality instead of just mass producing garbage.
I gotcha. Okay.
I have so many questions. I'm serious.
Sorry.
So let me ask this though. Meta tags. Is this truly a thing that's going, like, are meta tags becoming also obsolete?
Yeah, a lot of them already are. So if any of the,
maybe you would care to, I say that, but we're dealing with a lot of realtors, not engineers, and
sure,
people
yeah,
in the tech industry. So if you wouldn't mind.
So what a meta tag is like a little snippet of code that your visitors don't see. It's not like on the front end of the website, it's on the back end, but it's in the code so search engines can see. So where I'll define things is there are different types of meta tags, and some of them still have purposes. The one that you're probably referring to is meta keyword tag. It's completely worthless.
Right.
So I'll finish defining.
Why do websites give you the still on the back end give you the option to place them in to each web page?
There's no reason. None at all. So, if you want evidence as to why there's no reason, the gentleman that used to kind of be the public face of the correspondent person between webmasters and Google, his name was Matt Cutts. So he's been replaced by a guy named Danny Sullivan. But when Matt Cutts was around, he would do these videos that say, like, hey, here's our position from Google. And, he would do like these Q&As with webmasters. And so one of them was in 2009. That's 11 years ago, saying, no, we don't use meta keywords. So It's clearly documented that it just, from Google's mouth, that they don't use them.
Wow. That's disheartening, because I've actually spent a lot of time working on my website, TommyWooten.com, and I'm on the back end.
Real estate, realtor, Texas, DFW.
Plugging in like 30 to 50 and like phrases and words to try and get my website to rank higher up, from like page 40, right? Like on Google, and no one's going to find you. No, you're just not going to get organic traffic if you're on, if you're not on page 2 even, right? Like our span is a lot shorter. Like we're going to check out what's on the first page of Google. And then if how rare, we pretty much go to page 2, very rare, do we not?
Yeah, depending on the survey, it's somewhere between 70-90% of people only go to page 1. So, and even 30 to 50% of that is the top 3 results on page 1. So yeah, there's like this super cringy SEO joke that's where do you hide a dead body on the page on page 2 of Google, because nobody's gonna find it. So, but you know what? You actually talking about, putting those keywords. So it's called stuffing. And that's actually why Google doesn't use it anymore, is because people would just go in there and stuff it. And so when Google came into the game, that's where they really differentiated themselves, because a lot of the other search engines would rely heavily on that. But when Google came in, they used to use it a little, but not as the primary factor. What they still use, but their main thing that separated them from the other search engines was they would look at that external credibility we talked about, which is largely backlinks, which is when another website links to your website. So in that, those are less likely to be manipulated. Now, nowadays, SEOs catch on to it, and there's ways to manipulate those, but they're still way more accurate by trusting those third-party signals than something that the webmaster themselves can blatantly stuff with whatever.
Chasten, I don't want to step over you. But if you got any questions that have come up, go for it. But this is just something that we all, for those of us who feel that we're worth our salt, we have a website up with our name on it, right? Like myself, a TommyWooten.com, or other websites. But we all battle against against the big dogs, i.e. Zillow.com, right? We want to have our website somewhere around Zillow. When people search homes for sale in Dallas under $400,000, we want to be somewhere in that realm, because people Google this a lot. So, my question is, how do we go about, and the reason we do this is so that we can get leads, right? We get leads, we're able to help people, we're able to serve the people that are raising their hand and saying, hey, I need some help. I'm looking for a house over here. I need some advice about this part of town, or, I think I'm ready to talk to a professional. So, tell me, if you were going to build a site that was going to try and get somewhere around your Zillow.coms, your Realtor.coms, and your Redfins, how do we go about doing that? Which companies do we trust?
Okay.
You got something to add to that, Chase?
No, I was just I'm anxious.
It's actually a really good point that emphasizes what we talked about, quality, because the reason why Zillow blew up is because when they first came on, they said, well, how do we be different? And so one of the things that they did is they didn't just have the MLS info and the price of the house and the address, but what they also did is they went and aggregated a bunch of other data and systematized it. So I'm not saying, this isn't your answer, but I'll give you your answer in a minute, but this goes to emphasize the importance of standing out. And so what Zillow did is said, oh, hey, this, as the page loads for the customer, the lead, then it goes, well, here's also the local school information, and here's the crime rating, and here's all these other things that other sites, now do, but didn't at the time. And so that was able to accelerate them to the top, which then attracted all those links, because now they're better and they're different. And so even though other people now do the same thing, they had a head start and got all those links because they won the popularity contest, and now that's why they're staying at the top. So that's a huge thing to undertake that you probably can't just replicate as an individual, real estate agent. So I only say that to emphasize the value and uniqueness. Now, what you guys can do is focus on the content, because you really can't, if you're like a small shop or a medium shop, like, you can't get around using the MLS and the IDX because of the convenience of it feeding the listing out. So unless you have the freedom or the ability to massage those listings and change the content a little bit so they are more unique, which probably isn't going to happen, then you have to come up with content in other ways. So where I would say is start with exactly what you said, homes in XYZ area under $400,000. So what you want to find out is, what are other phrases like that people are searching? And then start with those, what are called long tail terms. And so I'll give you a free tool you can use. There's a website called answerthepublic.com. So if you go to Answer the Public, what it's going to do is it's going to tell you what your customers are already searching. And where it gets that data from is if you go to Google and you know how you start to type in home prices in, and then it understands your location. Then it goes, do you mean Dallas, Fort Worth? Do you mean Houston? Do you mean wherever? So Answer the Public will go pull data like that. And what that is Google saying, historically, people search for these things. So Tommy and Chasten, we think you probably might want one of these selections too. And so Answer the Public will take data like that and create a visual chart for you. And that's the who, what, when, where, and why of what your customers are already asking. So go in there and marry your expertise with some of those topics and start writing about those things.
You know, what's cool about this is I've been working very hard. Like my whole internet presence, I guess, stems from YouTube. So I did a lot of studying as far as like YouTube and how those algorithms work and descriptions, titles, and all that kind of stuff. And just over the years, I've been able to grow a really good organic following through YouTube and video and everything. So now this has me, I guess, trying to figure out my strategy in my head to bridge that over to the website. Because I mean, if you search my name specifically, my website's going to come up, of course, and a whole bunch of other websites. So I have the links out there, but my website is literally just like a sales page. I don't get traffic on my site unless I'm actually telling people to go to my website to go buy a product or to go download something.
Yeah.
So this has been really insightful in a sense of, I mean, I could probably like double a following or something.
Do you want the next answer?
Yeah, tell me.
So if you're already doing YouTube, then you're one step ahead. But what you can do, so here's the thing with YouTube. It's kind of the same problem with MLSs and IDXs. So YouTube is great because it brings exposure and has a convenience of an existing audience and feeds and all that. But it's the same problem because it's YouTube and it's not your site. So what you do to marry those two things is still keep killing it on YouTube, do your thing there, put out the video, but maybe do the Answer the Public research before your YouTube video or in addition to, and start doing immediately relevant topics to what your audience is already telling Google they want. Then when you're done with it, go use something like descript.com. It's a transcription service. So you dump your video in there, it's going to kick you out the text that you talked about. So now you can take that and massage that into an article. So instead of the hour-long article, it's a 5-minute article. All you got to do is, take out the ums and format it to be a proper article. Now you have unique content. Now Google's going to see the text because Google will rank you for what it can read. So then if you want to double down, then you start layering it. So do the text first as a blog post because Google wants to see the unique stuff. But then put the video below it. And now I say put it below it for 2 reasons. One is because let Google see the text first. Well, actually 3 reasons. 2 is so it loads quicker because videos have a delay on loading a page. So put it at the bottom so it can load the text first. And 3 is now you have more diversified content. So now Google's going to say, well, Chasten has not only good content, but also a video when all the other guys only have an MLS listing.
Y'all better watch out because y'all better watch out. That's awesome. Thank you.
That's awesome. Jinx. Sorry. I can't help saying that. I just cannot help saying that. I've got a 7-year-old.
I was just gonna say that. Do you have kids?
I got a 7-year-old. He does a whole thing that I'm like, oh, that's what y'all do these days when y'all like it's extra. It's extra.
Cool.
Well, so if you were us, these are the things that you would be doing.
For sure, yeah. If it were me, where I would start is, so earlier we talked about the 2 categories, one being how well your site is built and the other is external credibility. So where I would start is build a site, make it simplistic, don't make it super pretty because the more visually stimulating you make a website, the more overwhelming it becomes and the more it distracts from your call to action. So don't feel like you need to make the most beautiful website. Don't make it ugly, obviously, but if it's super simple, just tons of white space and clean, that's fine. Then, I often give an analogy of building a house when I talk about SEO. So the phase number one is building the foundation. And so, you build your foundation on your house, but once it's done, nobody really cares about it. You don't think about your foundation. Instead, you're looking at the furniture and the pretty paint on the wall and all that stuff. And so if we compare that to a website, your simplistic design is your foundation. So just build that and get it out of the way. But where all your traction is going to come from and what people care about is how beautiful, the paintings on the wall are. And so in comparison, that's going to be your content. But so even though your content is going to bring most of the value and the traffic and the exposure, you're not going to get anywhere until you build the foundation first. Right. So make your site, make it easy to use, simple call to action, really clear direction, then focus on your content. So then if it were me, very specific to your situation where you work in real estate in a very specific area, I'd grab my phone and I'd be walking around and I'd be going through these neighborhoods, or I'd be going through the actual house, and I would be communicating the things that the MLS is not. So instead of, sure, this is a 6-bedroom, 4-bath, but then also go into, here's why it's awesome, because this one tree is here. And when you come in here, you get the vibe of just totally relaxed, chill environment. And then there's just a school up the block. And so you can talk about the same things that MLS says that there's a school a block away, but bring some personality to it. Mm-hmm. So do the video. Then here you go, Chasten. You can then take that and do all your Instagram and Twitter with that too. But then take it, and you've done the heavy lifting of your content, because now you just throw it into something like Descript and then just polish it up and make it a more formal article, load that to your website. So just create a content hub, a content engine, and just start with the video piece. Don't reinvent the wheel, but then just smartly repurpose it into those, different pieces and different platforms.
I have one final quick question on that. As far as the authority goes, right? Especially for you, since you probably do a lot of interviews and you contribute to different articles and stuff. Are you pointing people to your website, or are you sending them to a social media site or on Instagram, or are you using that to build your authority and links and stuff?
Always my site. Yeah. I don't care if anybody goes to my social media.
Okay.
I mean, I do, but not in the respect of SEO. So the way that I run my online presence is everything goes to my website that has a link. Anytime I have a link, goes to the website, not to Instagram, because I don't own Instagram. I can build that asset, but I will never own it. I will never own Facebook. So what happens when Facebook becomes MySpace? So I always build up the things that I will always own. Now, the way I am certainly active on, my platforms of choice are Facebook and LinkedIn, because that's where my audience is. So for you guys, it makes more sense, Facebook and Instagram. So focus on or YouTube. So when I identify on social media where my audience is. So I'm not on TikTok. I've done 0 videos and I plan on doing 0 more, because my audience isn't there. The other thing is even if they were there, I don't want to be the dancing SEO guy on TikTok. Right. So pick a platform and kill it on that platform. Just 1, maybe 2. That's it, if your audience is on both of them. Then, if you really want to be on other ones just because, then automate it. Use something like Zapier, and then let Zapier push your Facebook stuff over to Twitter for you. But don't waste time doing it. So there's 0 to little to none overlap in how social media benefits SEO. So I build up the assets I own and push them all to my website.
Oh, I want to give you amen.
Now, let me ask you this, and this will be the last question kind of before we wrap it up. Because I've told you that there's company after company after company that, will give us the opportunity to put our URL there. They've got a different way that the website looks, or, a better experience for the user. How does Google take into consideration when, I think you're going to say yes, do they take into consideration when a website changes, right? Like it's TommyWooten.com. It looked like this for a year, but now it looks like that. Does that knock down the rankings? Does Google like a site that has longevity?
Yeah. So there's a couple of layers to that. So one is the domain. So before I give these explanations, though, there's one thing that's important to understand is that there's no one thing that is exceptionally more valuable in SEO than others. It's having a really good balance of many small things. So even though I'm going to say yes, don't think like if you go do this one thing, it's magically going to solve your problems. So one layer to that is the age of your domain. So Google will look at a domain and say, okay, TommyWooten.com's been around for 10 years or however long. And then his competitor's been around for 2 years, or this other guy's been around here for 20 years. So the little bit of value and difference in that is that theoretically, the younger the domain, the more likely it is to be fly by night or a scam or less credible. So there's a little bit of value in the length of the domain. But more specific to your question about the platform and how it's built, yeah, I mean, every year we have at least one client we have several clients that redesign their sites, but we always have at least one that I say, don't go live. Don't go live. We got to do these things. Just reminding you for the 10th time, don't go live. And they still go live. And what happens is if you don't protect your SEO assets from going from site A to site B, so an example of an SEO asset might be the content that you've worked on, or maybe it's TommyWooten.com/contact, and then on the new site, it's TommyWooten.com/contact-me. So now the URLs are different. And so what happens is Google's like, hey, we're going to go check out, Tommy Wooten's contact page. Where to go? And so there's ways that you should protect that or redirect it. Ideally, that URL doesn't change, but because of how some platforms are built, you have limited control of that URL. And so in that case, you have to hold Google's hand and say, the contact page that you're looking for over here is now over here, so come with me. And so there's ways to guide it. So yeah, there's definitely a huge problem in changing platforms. And I think what's more specific to people in real estate is that at the end of the day, all these different platforms are just doing the same thing. None of them are helping you with blogging. None of them are helping you stand out differently. All they're doing is saying, we have these different designs and we're going to load your MLS for you too. My price is just $9 cheaper. So I would pick one that is either the most economical and or the most user-friendly for you to do the same thing that you're going to do on all the other platforms anyway. So figure out which one is economical and user-friendly and then stick to it. But if you really want to commit to it, what I would do is, like we talked about earlier on social media, you don't own those platforms. So I don't own Instagram, you don't own those platforms. So if I were you, what I would do is go with WordPress, because WordPress you can own, you can build it out, and you can still connect the MLSs. But then if you ever change the MLS part, everything else on your website still stays the same, and you don't have to lose that.
That is boggling my mind, because I think there's a large part of our industry that are at big brokerages. Okay, your Keller Williams. I was at Coldwell Banker for 6 years before partnering up with Joe Atkins. We got Briggs, Sotheby's International. We got all the big brokerages, but these brokerages, oh goodness gracious, it's 812. We might have to have you come back on, man, because
you're good.
This is good stuff.
I told my wife I got a late one tonight, so no worries.
Okay. Well, a lot of agents, they're at big brokerages, and so they trust the brokerage and to have their page up, right? I feel as if, Chasten, am I wrong here? Don't we all that feel that we are worth it need to have our own website, like with our URL? It's branding, it's marketing, no?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't ever really go down the brokerage site road. I've like you said, I've always had my WordPress website. Now I've been through adding in different IDXs into it, but I did hear that a long time ago about just having your own asset. So I've always kind of operated under my WordPress site, but nowadays I'll tell you, these real estate websites, they're all the same. It's just a different look. Like he was saying earlier with the MLS feed. What do they give us? A contact form and about us page, and then the MLS search, why buy now, why sell now? They're literally all the same. So yeah.
You guys have your industry has the same problem as insurance agencies. So every once in a while we'll get a lead from, somebody that does like financial planning. And so obviously there's a lot of money to be made with the type of market that they're in. But I tell them, I'm like, we can't help you, because the problem that you run into is then I say, okay, great, let's build your website. And then they come back and they say, well, my brokerage won't let me, or my brokerage doesn't give me, even if they do let me build a website, I don't have the creative freedom, and I can only say these certain things. So it's the same problem. If you don't do anything uniquely, you can't rank uniquely.
Wow. Everybody. Damon Burton, SEO National.
Hey, I'll hit Elizabeth's question real quick before we bounce. She says, what new site elements do you see that help SEO that people might not be aware of? So this gets more technical, but there's a thing called schema. It's SCHEMA. It's not new. It just hasn't been adopted as largely as it should. And so, like, the elementary level explanation of what schema is when Google comes to your website, it goes, oh, I'm at TommyWooten.com, and here's the menu. So I'm going to follow the menu, see what content's there, follow that content, find more links, and then just rinse and repeat. And that's how it finds content. And so when it's going through and looking at that content, it goes, well, I think this is Tommy's contact page, and I think that he's in the real estate industry, and I think that this is the area that he works on. But what schema does is it formats that text in a very specific manner. So like we said earlier about meta tags, you don't visually see them, but they're in the code for search engines. That's what schema does. And so what schema does is it says, Google, I am telling you definitively, this is my contact page. This is a phone number. This is my address. This is my email. This is the area I focus on. And so if you want to take it to the next level, schema is available very specifically for real estate listings. And so one of the clients that we worked with a while ago was a $100 million international real estate agency over in the UK. And so what they do is we worked with them in implementing schema. So as their house listings went onto the website, it would wrap this little code around, here's the address. So then Google goes, I know for sure that is an address. Here's the price. Google goes, I know for sure that is a price. This is the subdivision. This is the school district. This is the whatever. So the problem you're going to run into, though, is does your back end give you that freedom to touch those things? So if you can build your own website, well, and a lot of these IDX and MLS feeds, they have schema built into them. So some of them do have a little technical advantage over the other feeds that don't have schema built in, but you still have the content uniqueness problem. But if you're willing to explore schema, and again, it's more technical, that's something that is not adopted as much as it should be.
I'll explore.
Yeah, that'd be me.
got your homework.
That is me too.
Oh,
well, I can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough. There's no doubt that you've made a big impression on all of us entrepreneurs, independent contractors who now have more time at home to, ponder how we're going to advance ourselves in a more digital sense. Do us all a favor, Damon, and make sure that all of our viewers know how to get in contact with you, your content. If you offer, whatever it is that you offer, lay it out there for us, please.
Yeah, I appreciate the time to chat. If you want to talk shop, SEO National is my company. Right now, I'm actually doing I just published a book, so I'll pimp that out. If you want outrank, I'm actually doing free copies right now. So I'm doing like a big push to a Facebook group that I have that I'm relaunching next week. And so if you want a free copy of that book, you can go to freeseobook.com. And it's just a total blueprint of everything we've talked about. It's literally all the operations that I do in my business and my company. And it's just written out into a book. But the sound, what's funny is the first page of the book, it says something like, there it is. Yep. So what's funny is like the first page in the book says the idea of, let's be honest, the idea of a book about SEO doesn't sound sexy. So what I do is I start the book with some good stories. Like, how did I beat ABC, $1 billion company, when I was like 25. So I outranked ABC. How did I build up this nightlife website? So all these things when I was in my 20s and just doing fun stuff, I start there to establish, proof of concept and how you can accomplish these things. And that way, hopefully it keeps your attention as you get further into the book and I transition into the technical stuff. So freeseobook.com is where I'd send you. You'll jump into my Facebook group and we can keep in touch there.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Damon. Just amazing. I don't know, just amazing content. This is 2 weeks in a row. We've had great guest speakers come to us. Damon, you're up on the what part of the country are you in?
I'm near Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just I love technology and what it does for us. It brings us all together.
Yeah.
Love being able to have people like you on, give value to the North Texans as we need it. Some people in the real estate industry are reeling right now. All this time spent at home in front of our computers. So this will definitely help us all out.